So thanks everyone for joining us for SAP Build Discovery Days. I'm Frank Lazinski, Senior Account Manager with LeverX. Sergey is with me as well. Maybe Sergey, you'd like to say a few words?
Hi everyone, thanks for joining me as here today as a BTP solution architect from our BTP Innovation Center, here to talk about kind of clean core, about SAP Build and recent innovations that were hearing before.
LeverX, we've been in business for just over 20 years. We were founded in 2003. Our kind of bread and butter has always been SAP. We've been a close partner to SAP since our inception. And from starting as a kind of a smaller organization, we've grown into a global system integrator. We have over 900 clients across the globe. We've completed, successfully over 1,500 projects, with 2,200 skilled employees also across the globe. I mentioned, how we kind of are a global company. Our business operations are kind of in 36 countries. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have individuals in those 36 countries, but we provide our services to those countries across 3 continents. As for where our offices are located, we have 15 offices in 10 different countries. So that includes, of course, the United States, Europe, Central Asia, as well as some, offices in Latin America as well. Yeah, in terms of kind of our office locations, a little bit more detail in the United States, our headquarters are located in Miami, and then we have, two or three other offices kind of spread out from, San Francisco as well as in the Midwest. And then kind of our major delivery center, I would say, is in Poland, which is where Sergey's is located. And yeah, it allows us to be kind of very, kind of touch all of the different time zones, be very cost effective in our approach, but still maintaining very high quality services. And then in terms of our business segments, our main focus is, of course, around digital transformation. So that includes, SAP, but some non-SAP solutions as well. And you can see below where partners, some of the partners that we work with. So of course, we're proud to be an SAP Gold partner. I think it's worth mentioning too that we're an SAP Global Strategic Supplier, which essentially means that we actually co-develop many of SAP's products. So we not only know the ecosystem very well, but we know the products very well. And sometimes, we know the roadmap even better than, some SAP people, right? So we're very kind of close to the product teams, very close to SAP in general, but we're also, partners of the major hyperscalers, Databricks, Snowflake, Adobe as well, and many more. And then in terms of our services, right, we kind of focus on, integrating different business applications, SaaS applications. We have a data and analytics team. We focus on integrations, and whether it be building integrations or integrating systems, with SAP. Cloud and infrastructure, as I mentioned, we're partners with the major hyperscalers, and of course, AI. And then in terms of industries, we, are essentially kind of industry agnostic, with kind of where we're strongest, though. I would say it's around, maybe some manufacturing, some energy utilities, healthcare, life sciences, high tech, transportation, and logistics, essentially everything you see down here. So yeah, with that, it's kind of a very high level overview of who we are. But I'll pass it to Sergey to maybe describe a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, thanks a lot, Frank. I wouldn't say better about our company. So what we are going to talk about essentially is a bit of theory about clean core and about SAP Build tooling that is very quite related to clean core concept itself. And plus, we'll take one use case and we'll try to build, or I will actually show you how to build this in a very detail so that you would be able to repeat the same or very similar scenario on your own. So let's start with some basics and recaps and actually where things start from. And here we are actually talking about the extensibility of our core system. And I mean, that's no surprise that extensibility is needed. I mean, if each and every system would be the same one, nobody will get any benefit, right? And what we are actually aiming for is to get our competitive differentiating scope that is going to be our benefit. And that would be the differentiating part that differentiates our core system from together. So this simple diagram actually tries to explain this. So imagine this blue Square is our standard software that is provided by SAP. I mean, it's same for everyone, like SAP public cloud system. I mean, it's kind of the same. You get what you get. So there is a covered scope, right, from which is part of the whole provided scope, right? So one company needs certain things, probably not everything that SAP standard software provides, but mostly the things are getting covered here. However, there is an uncovered scope, right? So that potentially is going to be covered by SAP soon. Yeah, we can expect for that. But what we are actually aiming for and what we are actually talking about is this differentiating scope, right? So the competitive benefit that we want to enable in our system to stand out and, well, actually to differentiate from others. But actually, extensibility is actually the main driving factor for why SAP Clean Core concept appeared, right? So from the past, absolutely possible to modify SAP system in the way you can imagine, right? So any code modifications, any modifications to any core classes, to the very specific technical components that sits in their core system were possible. However, I mean, that is not a problem and that was cool, but this introduced certain problems, right? And probably one of the biggest problems is the upgrade of the system. Like, okay, so you made a lot of modifications. So how in the future you would like to update your system if you even difference from the standard so much? So you're going to expect a lot of pain here. Now, the next would be the stability of the system, right? So given you have made a lot of modifications here, like you should be very careful about what you do. And in a lot of situations, you may find out that the stability of system suffers because of that. So actually, SAP Clean Core concept actually tries to address this type of problems. And a clean core is not exactly an instruction, right? So there is no like one defined list of what you should do, especially. So it's more like a mindset or a philosophy of how you would like to make certain changes and in your system, which aims for to stabilize the system for and make it prepared for the future updates. So it concerns about these four things mostly. So at first, of course, as I've said, there's extensions and modification that you've made. So here we try to, well, we'll get to that, but we try to make these extensions painless and not dependent on the core system, right? So whenever there is a new system update, or if you want even maybe to replace the system, you're quite in a good position because your extensions are not so tightly coupled with that. Then, of course, integrations, right? So it actually goes together with extensions because in a lot of things, right? So any integration kind of can be considered as an extension, right? So whether it's an API or event that you want to handle or handle differently from the standard, that's what we are talking about here. Of course, data and processes and business processes as well. So in a lot of cases, you would want to, I mean, either to add an approval or to handle the process in your specific way that is established in your company. So this type of things should also be, of course, considered. Yeah, and speaking about the benefits it gives us, I would actually would like to highlight one of them, and especially faster innovation and adaptability, right? So of course, yeah, so Clean Core gives you lower the cost of ownership, right? So you less suffer in terms of updates and maintaining the system, but sometimes maintaining the system is quite okay. I mean, we can still have a team that will maintain this, so maybe less of a problem. But what I want to focus on, and actually where SAP Build helps us a lot, is having the system be prepared for a fast prototyping and for a fast extension. So meaning that we already have, we will have with like a clean core concept and this BTP, of course, itself, we are having a platform or a place where we can immediately start building our extensions and be pretty much sure that they are going to work and that they're going to work in the future without the risk that after next SAP upgrade it stops working and you'll have to redo everything from scratch. So of course we are reducing the risk with that. We are prepared for the cloud first strategy, right? So I guess that again brings us back to also to the BTP topic, but which I will tackle more a bit in the future. And of course, employee satisfaction, right? So here, Clean Core addresses these problems in a modern way with the modern technologies that are available on the market. And of course, people are much more would like to work with a system that is modern, that is good looking, with the modern interfaces, with the latest technologies that are available, which was not possible to do before. Now, speaking about SAP Build, as I've started to talk about that, that's would be actually a sweet spot here. Yeah, so building the Clean Core extensions with that, because SAP Build extensions, they by nature can be considered as clean core compliant, right? So SAP Build, if you like, going a little bit to the future, so they are part of business technology platform, which itself is kind of a satellite platform for any SAP system, right? So by that nature, they are already clean core compliant. So where we can build externally, where we can connect to our systems via APIs and events. So SAP Build, as together with SAP Business Technology Platforms, provide all of the tools that are required for that. Then efficient development, because SAP Build is a low-code, no-code toolings, which is currently even AI-powered. So you cannot imagine a tool where you can build the SAP extension faster, probably. And yeah, so we can really deliver value. We can really deliver tangible results with that. And I'm also going to talk more about that. So just let's, for example, take a real example. For example, we would like to optimize our sales contract management in SAP or any other process. So just to give you certain numbers, for example, if before it was a manual process where, let's say 3 company employees were working on this, processing 15 sales contract lines through SAP manually via transaction, which took them 20 minutes for entry minutes to enter this information into the system. Yeah, so of course, it is slow at first, it is prone to human error, and probably employees might be involved in more productive tasks other than just parsing the Excel or another email file. So what we can do, for example, to introduce an automated process, and just to calculate, yeah, so for example, this type of project can take like 1 or 1.5 months of work. And yeah, so running that with the ROI of 240, we can expect a payback period of about 3 months. And later, you just gain benefit from that. From there on, we can be sure that there pretty much are not going to be any human errors anymore, that the things are going to be automated, governed, and monitored with that. And a lot of cases, actually, what I've heard from our customers, you probably doesn't need any additional license, because in a lot of cases, BTP subscription goes together with your S4 subscription or with RISE or with Grow. Now it brings us to the topic 2 of business technology platform itself, which is quite more generic than SAP Build itself. But as I mentioned, business technology platform is a platform, right? That is considered to be as an extension platform for SAP solutions. Of course, at first there will be S4HANA, any version on-premise or cloud or a public cloud. So of course, they are all compatible, but not only that. So things like systems like SAP SuccessFactors, Ariba, they are working perfectly together with business technology platform and can be extended here as well. So at first, BTP can connector. So we have all the tools. At the first stage, of course, this will be a SAP integration suite that is designed to actually enable any kind of an integration with any kind of protocols that you can imagine, whether it's FTP, whether it's an old, good old IDOC, SAP, REST APIs with OData, all that is covered here. However, not only that, so if there will be an exceptional case, for example, where SAP integration suite cannot work, and just believe me, there can be certain cases where it is not possible. So we still have a platform where we can build our custom extensions, right? So we have Cloud Foundry, we have Kima environment, which is a Kubernetes cluster. So pretty much anything can be built here. So of course, BTP can extend. So that's the whole topic, and that's the whole story around SAP BTP is intended to extend the core system in a compliant way. So that is not really dependent on the original system, rather it connects to them via APIs. And of course, it can automate and now, of course, bring AI and machine learning integrations. Yeah, I will probably talk more about this just a few slides ahead. But for now, let's focus on the extensions development and building them. So SAP currently provides this set of tooling, which can be like from this highest standpoint divided to no-code, low-code solutions, and a pro-code. So from the pro-code, we have the environments where we can run, as I've said, pretty much anything. So not only CAP applications, which are recommended, of course, but pretty much any technology could be run, for example, either on Cloud Foundry or on Kima. And we also had very specific projects in the past where we run very specific technologies that are yet not available in Cloud Foundry, but still we have possibility to do so. So speaking of no-code, low-code solutions, they are actually a sweet spot for S4HANA developments. Right, so here we do have SAP Build portfolio, where we have SAP Build apps, SAP Build Code, Build Work Zone, and SAP Build Process Automation. But apart from that, we do actually now going to have SAP Joule Studio to create even more AI extensions. And yeah, I'll probably also return to that later. So, and all of that is actually flavored with other BTP services that do support this. So things like HANA Cloud Database, DataSphere for data integrations, connectivity services for on-premise and for cloud, things like integration suite for integrations, mobile services for mobile development. And currently a really hot topic is AI services, as Gen AI Hub and SAP AI Core to have a stable and governed connections to LLM models. And then we have this SAP Business Data Cloud to have our data warehouse. The main topic for us will be, for today, I would say, will be SAP Build. And I will quickly go through each of these tools just to give you the first impression. However, I'll show them live in my demonstration later. So the first one of them will be SAP Build apps. So the solution originally bought by SAP to create mobile applications, but currently it's not only mobile, but web applications as well. And one of the features actually that is very anticipated by partners and by citizen developers is the possibility to create Fiori-like interfaces with the Fiori web components inside of the same tool. That's going to be released soon, and yeah, very anticipated now. But in general, this is a low-code, no-code tooling that, as you can see, where you can, with this drag and drop simplicity, create applications, different screens, controls, buttons, and then put logic over it. Plus, of course, as long as it is SAP Build solution, it is highly integrated with the whole SAP Build portfolio itself, plus with SAP ecosystem as well, I would say, right? So integrations with S4 or with SAP systems that are available for one specific customer, are just an effort of one click. So the next solution that I'm going to talk about today, and which we are going to see in our demonstration, is SAP Build Process Automation. So as the name suggests, it is a service that is responsible for any kind of workflow or automation that you can imagine. Currently, the service can be divided into two major functionalities because it actually came from two different solutions that were here in the past. So one was SAP Workflow and another was SAP Intelligent Robotic Process Automation. So currently both of these solutions are combined in this one, and that actually have a synergy of both, right? So there can be, let's say, a workflow that will trigger the robotic process automation. So yeah, as I said, the same applies here. So it is an SAP Build tool that is highly integrated with the rest. For example, it is highly integrated with SAP Build apps. So there is a connection I'll show you later with SAP Build Code, with SAP Build Work Zone, where the deployment happens again. So just in one click. So that's what I'm going to show you actually today. And of course, yes, so this is a low-code, no-code tool that is very convenient, quite easy to use, and even a business user, or at least a citizen developer, can start actually using it. And yeah, in the meantime, I'll also show you, in some time, I'll show you how actually it is done. So another solution from SAP Build portfolio would be SAP Build Work Zone. And it's kind of similar to Launchpad, as you may think at the first time, but it's actually much more. This SAP Build Work Zone solution comes in two different versions. One is a standard one, it's called Standard Edition, and another one is Advanced. So the Standard Edition is, yes, we can say it's kind of similar to the Launchpad service that we had in the past, or kind of a Launchpad that we had in S4 system, right? So where you can see the different tiles in one single place, but actually these tiles can be integrated with other systems, right? And if you're talking about SAP BuildWorks and Advanced Edition, that is much more. So of course, it includes all the functionalities from the standard, so it provides this Launchpad, but also it provides kind of a CMS capabilities, content management system capabilities, where you can have these blogs, polls, news, different feeds, workspaces for the teams. So kind of a very central place where you can maintain the content across our organization. Cool. And not to forget actually about this Joule. I mean, this is a lot of hype is going on around this, and it's actually evolving. So this Joule, this is, I mean, it's no surprise. So probably all know that it is an AI agent that is embedded across different SAP solutions now. So it is Cloud ERP, it is SuccessFactors for HXM. But actually, Joule is currently integrated with these development tools that I have been sharing before. Right, so with SAP Build portfolio itself, with development tools for pro code developers in the form of SAP Build Code, as well as for a web environment. Yeah, so Joule currently also is provided here. What I also wanted to mention is one more tool is going to be live soon, which is called SAP Joule Studio, that will provide the possibility to build these unique AI agents. So SAP provides by default a lot of features that are already integrated with SAP solutions like S4 and SuccessFactors, so no surprise, so they're coming by default. But in a lot of cases, customers would want to implement their own integrations or their own, I don't know, chat scenarios for Joule. And this will become possible in December this year, I guess, with the first release. And later there will be one more release for February where much more functionalities will be added for SAP Joule in terms of extensibility and possibilities to connect with external systems. But the bottom line is that any citizen developer in this low-code, no-code manner, and just with the natural language descriptions or kind of natural language coding, will be able to create these AI bots that will be able to handle very custom tasks. Yeah, and as soon as I mentioned, this Joule for developers, one of the main solutions here would be SAP Build Code, that is currently also part of SAP Build portfolio, but it is different in the sense that it's more intended for pro code developers now. But actually, SAP is moving from that and putting more and more different AI-enabled features so that citizen developers could also benefit from that. So the way it works, if you don't know, so you can provide the whole description of what you want to actually build, and you can actually build pretty much any extension that you can imagine. So in the first place, of course, you would start with SAP Build apps and SAP Build process automation if we are just talking about simply extending some workflow or just enabling it some certain easier UI or more user-friendly UI for our users. But when it comes to more complicated extensions, we of course need to onboard the pro code development, and that's actually where SAP Build Code comes in picture. So in the first place, it can generate code and bootstrap the project, but it also can write different logic, right? So we can say, I need to, I don't know, whatever, create or calculate something, and then based on that, do this, and that. And these things will be actually generated for you at some point, but then later they can be forwarded to pro code developers who can later adjust this or make this the way it should be. And also wanted to introduce a few use cases that we had in the past during the last year working with SAP Build. So one of them was SAP Build Apps application, mobile application to be more precise, that was connected with SAP DataSphere. So the idea behind the application was to connect multiple data sources, the data coming from SAP for work orders, that was actually combined and recalculated in SAP DataSphere as business data and was later exposed as an API for SAP Build Apps. So using that, so a lot of things are actually happened in SAP DataSphere, so most of the logic was residing here, but customer was seeking to have a nice UI where in one simple place, the servicemen could actually see all the work orders that are pending. And the work orders will be generated by really complicated logic from SAP DataSphere that actually combines monitoring data, service order data, and some business data from SAP. So another solution could be, an example of another solution could be this intelligent invoice automation that we prepared for one customer in the United States during this year, actually. And actually the development is still ongoing, but we already see some clear results. So the challenge here actually was that customer had very outdated system, so it was ECC6, and they did a very complicated process of invoice and payslips matching. So where they line by line, they had to go into each one or three different transactions to just actually match and mix and match different lines just to clear the certain expenses. So this before was happening in SAP directly, and they decided, okay, so we do have this SAP BTP platform here. Like, why don't we utilize this to create some kind of an automated process for that? So we actually took a look and we actually prepared this custom UI where they can do things in this nice manner, which is much more user-friendly that you can imagine was in SAP GUI transactions. But eventually this was also integrated with SAP ECC via quite outdated protocol, but yeah, it still works. And SAP Build Process Automation managed to actually also call these APIs. And maybe another example of robotic process automation case where we do have an automated sales digital assistant for metal parts manufacturing company in the United States. So this pure project was mostly an automation with a very simple UI for SAP Build Apps to trigger it. The idea behind it was that there was a robot that is able to replace, let's say, a human that was sitting here before in front of the screen and monitoring the invoices inbox. So now instead, we do have this automation that can open the email inbox, monitor emails, filter out whatever is needed, using specified filters, plus actually using AI to understand that this email actually has relevant context with that. And based on these emails, we also employed machine learning to recognize the attachments from this email, process actually this data and forward to S/4HANA. Actually, that's where this Gen AI Hub came into play. Yes, I mean, this was the central connection point for LLM. And maybe the last example for side-by-side extensions. In this case, it's not S/4HANA. SAP BTP is not necessary for ERP. It can also be used for success factors. So here the challenge was that the customer was not fully satisfied with SAP SuccessFactors. So the system is huge and it does a lot actually. I mean, it's very powerful. But there was one specific use case in regards to mass processing. Yes, this was related to HR, onboarding and offboarding flow, because this specific customer had a lot of that stuff here. So they requested to have a solution that would be able to do this mass processing at one place. So we ended up having the solution built with mostly with SAP Build code. So most of this actually was kind of AI generated, but later adjusted by Procode developers. That was intended to do this mass processing of HR data. So that was a small recap for what business technology platform offers, how to connect with Clean Core. So now I want to guide you through one pretty simple use case, but actually so it actually shows you how simple it is to extend the process on SAP Business Technology Platform. So yeah, imagine we have a solution architect, Jessica, who is working in the IT department of, let's say, whatever company. So they are working on the process, on optimizing the process of creating of the material data, or let's say product data in S/4HANA. So what they want to achieve is a controlled way to do so in a simplified manner, so that a business user could, without bothering about this 100 different fields that are available for products, about how to create this, be able to do so, but under the control manner. So there should be an approval on top of that for specific cases. So what they end up doing so is, so as we said, so we do need the product master data and an approval on top of that to control it. So we also want to have the easy access to this UI. So instead of using SAP GUI or SAP actually standard UI that actually do have 100 different fields that might not be known for a regular business user, but who actually wants to create a product itself. And we want to have this automated. So of course we don't want to, like every time we have a new product, go to the system and fill these fields manually, verify everything works. So we do want to automate this stuff. So the solution would be here is that comes into play will be based on SAP Build, based on the Clean Core principle. So we are going to have a workflow that is going to run with this SAP Build process automation, maybe some customized UI that we will build with SAP Build apps. And then in the end, we need to post this data in a controlled manner to S/4HANA after the approval. And before actually going to the live system, I'll just, so that's what we actually said. So what we need, the form to request a new creation of the new product. We'll need a decision logic in order to verify if the approval is needed or is everything is fine with our request. And lastly, we need to publish the data back to our S/4HANA system. And as I said, so before actually going to the live system, I wanted to present this very simplified technical architecture diagram about just to give you the first idea of how this can work together. So we'll have a build work zone as a central entry point. There will be probably multiple applications that are already there, but what we want to introduce here is a new application tile build that will be built with SAP Build apps as an application for building the UI. We will introduce a new workflow that will be based on the build process automation. Plus, we will utilize BTP connectivity services, in specific this destination service, to connect to the target system. The first place we will hit is SAP Build lobby. So here it is a homepage or a central entry point for any pretty much for any extensions that we can imagine. So whether it's low code, no code, or whether it's a pro code build application built with SAP Build code or SAP Build Business Application Studio, all of that currently can be visible here. So first we see there are projects that are here. So whether are they web and mobile applications, whether it's process automation, whether it's something else, it will be actually displayed here. So this is a management plane where we do have also some connectors that are published in our system. And you see this works as a library, essentially. So here we see actions, which are nothing but the connection points between the system and SAP Build. For example, for my demonstration, I'm going to use this product master integration that actually describes underneath how the system should communicate. But I'll also show you how it looks like for the business developer. So it means that for the business developer, it looks like there's input and output. And I mean, without bothering actually what is the protocol behind it? Is it an event? Is it an API? What kind of an API is it? So these technical details are hidden behind this just one package. We actually do have a store here where there is a lot of content that is published by SAP and their partners. Some of them are just templates, some of them are ready to use, and ready to use really means that they are very standard and you can be pretty sure it's going to work out for your case, as described here, meaning that you will simply have to deploy this one and then just probably put some configurations on top of that, like the username and password or some credentials or certificates of your system, and it should start working immediately. So a lot of them are here. So it could be processes, automations, different SDKs, as well as that actions, which are nothing but connectors. So with SAP and these non-SAP systems, some of them are ready to use, some of them are just templates that you can simply extend, but that do provide some basic logic. So also SDKs that simplify connectivity with the real world applications. So for example, if we have a look here, there will find a lot of different SDKs to work with real world applications such as Excel, PowerPoint, Word. So all Office Suite is here. SDK to work with PDFs, with Microsoft stuff, with SuccessFactors, SAP UI5, and so on. And maybe I will, if we'll have time, I will also show you how this actually looks like for in the end, after it is deployed, how simple it is to use. So apart from that, we have some monitoring stuff, but maybe we can skip this for now. Good. So let's start with the process automation itself that I have prepared as a demo. So maybe as a reference, I'll also open this slide here. So here we are going to SAP Build process automation, where we will try to, I will demonstrate to you how the workflow can be designed. So that's nothing but SAP Build process automation. As we can see here, there's a very simple one, but its project here is a combination of multiple artifacts that are available. So most likely, in most cases, there will be a process, either a form or a decision, but the list of different artifacts that are available here is quite huge. So there can be a robotic process automation that can be part, for example, of a workflow itself. There can be application definitions. If, for example, we are talking about some custom application, not SAP or something else, which, for example, doesn't provide an API, we can actually provide the definition of such kind of an application defined. So, for example, here you should see this button, there will be two inputs, and then we can utilize this definition to work with this, to interact with this application as part of automation. So we do have processes, we have forms and approvals, we have decision-making rules. We have different visibility scenarios to, for example, monitor certain KPIs, or to just monitor what is, visibility scenarios could be different, but mostly it's about KPIs. Custom data types, different variants of the same process, and different templates. So for this specific process, I'll show you how it was built. So in this case, as I mentioned, we are talking about product creation. So very simple. We just want to have, let's say, an approval and some decision making before we actually post the data in, automatically post the data into the system. So that's pretty much the whole structure of the process itself. So it all starts with the trigger. So here we are actually using API trigger that is specific, but it's also possible to create a custom form here that can be also used as a form trigger. So here we are using API trigger because our intention is to trigger this from SAP Build apps. And actually this possibility of having this API trigger provides us this connectivity with SAP Build apps. So here we define certain inputs for the trigger. Later we do the decision. Let me also demonstrate to you how it can be defined. So at first sight, it might be complicated, but don't worry, not really is. So we do have inputs, we do have results, and we have some logic in the middle that actually defines the results based on inputs. So just on the right side, we define input and output parameters. So they can be really complicated, but here we are just using very simple parameters. So based on the product category, we'll define the approver group. For example, if it's a very specific category, we would need to define a certain specific people who will be responsible for that. Right, so we can also check how the rules could be defined. For example, in this case, if we do have a product category as HT, we will have an approver group assigned as this technical group. Otherwise, it will go to default group that we define. But it's actually, you see, can be quite extensible, right? So here it's just a very simple condition, but so here line by line we can add multiple. We can also combine different decisions. We can also build the whole tree of different decision rules. Plus, actually, also for information, this business rules can be used as a separate service. So let's say if you're building a very custom solution, but which should depend on some business decision rules to be maintained. So you can also integrate this with an external world. And then this custom application could call some decision-making logic that will happen on BTP, and that can be configured and monitored here. And then we'll get you the result back. Okay, so that was about this decision part. Now, based on this decision, we decide who should be the approver, right? And therefore, we have this approval form here that will be assigned to the group that was actually defined by this approver decision, right? So based on some specific logic, we can define the approver group, and therefore this approval will go to the group we have specified. Also considering, of course, the authorizations of these people from in BTP, which are actually synchronized from authorizations that are available in S/4HANA. So all of that is preserved here. So for this approval form, we can also specify certain inputs. So basically this data that we are planning to post for the product. Maybe let me also show you how the form builder looks. So if you open editor, so actually SAP Build process automation provides the same for the trigger form. If you want to start the processing with the form, not with the event or via API. So this is how the form builder looks like. You see, very simple. So there are built-in elements on the left-hand side, and on the screen we have this just fields that can be mapped with the data. So here we do specify them. We specify if they're editable or not. Actually, there would be, for example, a dropdown, which is of course possible, or either a table. They both could be mapped with the data that is coming from the API. So let's say, I don't know, if for some reason we would like to change the category here, we could replace it with a dropdown. And then typically for this dropdown, we can, for example, connect with our S/4HANA real data. So such things are, of course, possible here. However, if you notice, it is very simple, right? So there is no possibility currently to make any logic, to put any logic into this form, right? So it's mostly like you enter and okay, in the end you submit certain raw values. However, in a lot of cases, you would want to have some validations, maybe some data processing before you submit this. So unfortunately, right now, this simple form doesn't provide that. And it's actually one of the reasons to use SAP Build apps for that. So SAP Build apps can actually provide you with a custom UI, either for a form or for the process trigger. Yeah, and getting back to our workflow, so as soon as it will be approved, we can actually post the product to our S/4HANA system using the action. And I promise to show you how simple it is for the end user, for the business user to work with this. So you see there is no any reference to what is the protocol behind it, or are there any authentication details. So nothing like that. So they'll just see the inputs Yeah, of course, there will be a lot of them because potentially we might want to fill them out, but the mandatory ones will be, of course, highlighted so they can easily be mapped with the data that we have in the context. So we do have, for example, a product name here and product group for product group. And of course, it is a low code, no code solution, right? So they can be added just like that. So for example, if I would want to replace this one, I will just click it here and it will be replaced because this process knows what we are working with. It knows the data that we are going to publish into the system. Then it can also validate if the data type, for example, is mentioned. Yeah, and as an output, there will be a response from S4, which we are not really interested as of now. We are just interested in the fact that it was actually published. And after that, actually the workflow will finish. By the way, one of the recent features that was introduced here is this AI powered process generation. So for example, we can do things like, I don't know, create notification if, I don't know, product was rejected. And then, not always it works, but 99% it is. So here you see, for example, for the reject scenario, it added this notification for rejected product, where we will just have to select to whom we are going to send this notification and provide the subject, right? So the actual body of the message that can be actually modified with this editor. And of course, in this editor, we do have access to the process context. So all of the data that we are working with can be utilized here. For example, product was created. And then, for example, we can put in this product name, for example. So that's how the workflow will look like. There is also versioning and the different environments that we can utilize to maintain the workflows, to separate them by departments in your organization, for example. So we're not doing this. So for now, we do have a version of the same workflow that is currently deployed and running. And from this point, I want to switch to SAP Build apps. So I mentioned that in certain cases, we would want to have certain validations or some kind of interactability for interactivity for our forms, right? Or for the place where we do submit the data. And that's actually a good point to move into SAP Build apps. So here, as I mentioned, we are using API endpoint, API trigger that will be called by SAP Build apps. So going back to this SAP Build lobby where we do have an application created for that. And let me show you how SAP Build apps looks like in this case. So technically, it's of course a different solution, but it's still part of SAP Build. And yeah, so we are presented currently with this builder UI where we do have these different components, a marketplace of different components on the left. And the marketplace is quite rich. So there are various components that are coming from SAP, different lists. Should be more of them actually. For example, if we do have form, yeah, so these are different types of forms that you can create. By the way, there are kind of similar technology for forms that can be auto-generated, the same you would see in SAP UI5 Fiori elements. So by reading the metadata or from a data service, it can actually generate you the whole form to create or to update something or to display something. Yeah, so a lot of different components, for example, even maps, I think I already saw somewhere here. So originally, as I've mentioned, it is a tool to build mobile applications. So that's why it also has access to certain native APIs, such as GPS locating. So we can read the location of the data. I don't know, some kind of vibration APIs should be also available here. Yeah, maybe not Bluetooth. That's probably not likely is going to be supported here, but I mean, certain native mobile features that are crucial for a business application will be here. Yeah, so with this drag and drop simplicity, we can build our custom UIs. Some things can be modified in place. Some things has their configurations on the right. So in this case, for example, we have input, which value is mapped with the process context. And I will show you in a second what it is. So we map this data here. We also do have a preview portal here. so that the same application could be previewed in live as a web application, either as a mobile application. So for example, if you want to see this on your mobile device, you can just scan this QR code and put back the pin code, and then yeah, on your device in your hands, you will see the latest version of what you are building with this tool here. Or either you can open a web preview just in place. But let's say with this editable latest version. So this is how this application looks like live, and that's how it will look like after the deployment. So we do have a couple of inputs here. We do have a category dropdown, which is custom defined, but also, of course, it has all the integrations with S/4HANA. Right? So here we do have product type and a product group, which values are actually coming from our S/4HANA system. And I can also show you in a minute how it is done. The same for product groups, so we can actually select from different values that are coming from S/4HANA. Yeah, so as I said, these integrations are very easy to set up. So here we can monitor, we can see that multiple integrations are already done for product group, product type, and for the product itself, of course, for the creation. We can, for example, open one of them. So one of the options is to see the real data. So as I said, actually these product groups are coming from S4, and this is real data that we can monitor before we actually start building the solution. Plus, we can also specify mock data if we want, so we can also browse sample data. One of the recent features introduced here is actually AI-powered features that are, for example, like this, generate pages. So let's say we are working with the product group, and I don't know, for whatever reason, we just want to create, read, and update them. So let's see what it generates for us. So let's say here it generated for us the create update form, where we do have only group name, which I guess is sufficient here. We have a read page and we have this listing. For example, if I save it, I guess if it works out, it will also show us an additional tab here. For example, this product group listing, where we'll see all the list of different products. And it was actually AI generated, yes. So we can, for example, go into one. We can see the details of the same product. We can, for example, edit it just in place. And that's what you heard just saying. It was just generated in a couple of seconds. So what else SAP Build offers us here is a possibility to build these applications in place. So if we go to this publish service, or it's actually a build service, it provides a lot of different options on how you can actually build your solution. So here it is possible to create 3 different kinds of configurations. So for Android, for iOS, there will be a native mobile build that can be directly published either to App Store or to Play Market if it is an Android. Either we could also have the SAP Build Works on build, where you don't have to specify much, just the name of this configuration, and that's it. And basically, in just a few clicks, you'll be able to create a build that later could be deployed. So for example, you can download the bundle if you want to deploy it separately or manually for whatever reason. Either you can directly deploy from here into the SAP Build Works zone. Cool. And let me show you a few more settings. So the navigation piece, of course. So authentication is pretty much seamless with what SAP BTP normally offers. And it's, again, so just one click to enable this, and you would have authentication that will go through your sub-account, through your identity provider that's configured in your identity authentication service. And that is just one click here. And this, of course, will work with the custom identity provider as long as IES supports this. Yeah, so this is what we do have here. And one more important thing here to show is integration with SAP Build Process Automation. As I've said, this integration is very close here. And as you can see here, it already recognizes that we are using SAP Build Process Automation and that we are using this specific automation. We can actually open this automation and see what it requires as an input. So these are the same parameters we have specified in the process automation. So we know that in order to trigger this process, we have to supply this set of parameters. Some of them are mandatory, some of them are not. And that is, again, inherited from the definition of the process from the SAP Build Process Automation. And we can also see outputs, for example, the ID of the workflow, the status, the subject, and we do have these actions that actually help us to work with the workflow later. So first place, of course, we would like to trigger it. But for example, later, if we want to, I don't know, monitor it to see its status, or for example, to update certain parameters, maybe later we'd like to update the approver or specify it manually, we can utilize this action. And actually, we can also pull all the data on all the context of the same process. Okay. And maybe last but not least, so after it is deployed, it will go directly to our SAP Build work zone, and that's where small configuration would be needed. Again, so as that, so SAP Build is a central place where we can actually access any SAP Build tool. So in this case, we want to modify our business side. Yeah, and I want to go to admin console. And here it will redirect me to the admin panel of the work zone, where we can also play around and actually provide these different configurations. So by the way, that's how the SAP Build work zone advanced version looks like. Maybe I don't know if you do have much content here, but that's actually the look and feel of SAP Build works on advanced edition, but I actually wanted to go to the standard one. Let me see. Manage workspaces and things. This one should work. Yeah, so that's how we can create workspaces. And that's how the SAP Build Work standard version would look like. So you see there are a lot of different applications that are coming from various systems, not essentially BTP. So SAP Business, SAP Build Work Zone is a central entry point for quite a lot of different solutions. So at first it's S/4HANA, so most of these applications actually are coming from that. But for example, also applications that you are subscribed to or that you have bought on BTP, they would also appear here in one central place. So this transition could be really smooth if you at some point decide to go into the cloud. SAP Build Work Zone would be probably another entry point. Not another entry point, but a single entry point, because as I said, it can integrate with all of the tiles that you previously had in your SAP system before. Good. So I think with that, I'll wrap up this demonstration. Also, as a heads up, we are going to share all this presentation and a small guide on how you can repeat the same scenario, what configurations might be needed, what configurations you can extend, and so on. So this will be shared later. So at first, we have our own BTP Innovation Center. So it's a group of experts who can advise and recommend you on different various topics around BTP. And so, of course, not only SAP Build. So we can do the BTP readiness assessment, SAP BTP maturity assessment, if there are any improvements could be made. We can do SAP Clean Core assessment. So we can recommend on how you can execute the strategy, how you can establish certain appropriate governance for that. We can also check, are you actually Clean Core compliant? And for example, what is the percentage of the non-Clean Core compliance or non-Clean Core compliant code? Then we do have a team that is working closely with SAP BTP data piece, so including SAP Business BDC, right? So which includes DataSphere and SAP Analytics Cloud, and as well as different AI tools like AI Core and Gen AI Hub. Plus, we can also recommend you how you can modernize your current setup, what can be improved, what can be the transition paths, and so on. Yeah, so this could be a starter pack which is just advisory, but if you decide to go with us, we can also offer this advanced pack where we can provide the implementation part and more and deeper engagement with you. So we can also recommend you on your intelligent enterprise strategy, which typically around BTP, but it normally goes normally beyond that. So we do provide our own workshops to have some explorer workshops with BTP and BTC and different AI tools where you can see what it is, why you should use this, how you can utilize this, how you can benefit from this, along with, of course, discover and design phase. If you want to nominate one specific business scenario to work with, we can definitely do so during these workshops. And of course, we can help you with forming out the roadmap and your company strategy and whether you want or don't want to go with BTP, what are the reasons, what will be the best path for you. And also just to mention, in terms of SAP Build, especially, I would say, but actually for SAP BTP itself, we do offer this BTP pilot program where for certain limited engagement, we could prepare either a POC or do certain recommendation, or maybe implement one specific use case. So that's something we could discuss if you're interested in. Thanks a lot for participating and listening. If you're interested, so you will have our contacts and our contacts on the presentation. After the presentation, we'll send you the whole materials and the guide how you can repeat similar scenario on your landscape. And yeah, thanks from my side.
So thanks everyone for joining us for SAP Build Discovery Days. I'm Frank Lazinski, Senior Account Manager with LeverX. Sergey is with me as well. Maybe Sergey, you'd like to say a few words?
Hi everyone, thanks for joining me as here today as a BTP solution architect from our BTP Innovation Center, here to talk about kind of clean core, about SAP Build and recent innovations that were hearing before.